So, who saw me in 2009? Okay, that was a different era. So I was up on stage. I was spending a little bit of time talking about virtual corporations, and the video is still out there if you want to really go back and check it out. Virtual organizations, how you trust people you don't know in EVE Online. I've had a couple of years to revise my thinking on that presentation. No, yeah, no, not everything new, but I'll tell you what, it's very interesting. I've been approached by some universities that are going to be doing some white papers on the social aspects of EVE, you know, because this little, I don't know, this little site called Facebook just popped up recently, and they seem to be garnering a lot of attention around social networking and networks in general and how things happen. And it got me thinking a little bit about networks in EVE Online. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about how to influence others to get what you want inside EVE Online in order to, well, have some fun, have some more fun, M-O-A-R fun. And let's get started, shall we? So I have a story to tell you right up front. Does this sound familiar? I pick on Curse region because I love it, as you all know, if you've followed my kill mails. If you know who my alt is and you follow my kill mails, I'm usually down hanging around in head GP. And when I'm not in Fountain having fun. But suppose you're a decent PvPer, you're in a Merc Corp, let's just suppose. And you go out and you're flying with your close-knit group of friends, and you come up against a big southern coalition, and you do some fighting with against them. You end up in a pod. Well, you get hit with a Dictor bubble first, because that happens a lot down there in Curse. And then you end up waking up in your clone. And you get back in your clone, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to do that again. And you got a little message light flashing, and it says, hey, you fought really well. You're a pretty good PvPer. We'd like you to join our alliance, or we'd like you to join our corp. It's invite only, but you distinguish yourself out there in combat. We'd like to invite you in and have you as part of our ranks. Has that ever happened to anybody out here? Ever get an invite in combat? Yeah, it happens. Yeah, it happens occasionally, right? You do really good, and the opposing side says, hey, you're a good PvPer. We think we want you on our side. So I see that quite a bit. And you get into that organization. It's a new organization. Maybe you bring a couple of friends along with you. You join the organization. You have a good time. You get stuck with an FC that's been part of that coalition or part of that corp or part of that alliance for a while. And you do some combat missions with that person, some PvP, and all of a sudden you realize this guy has no clue what he's doing. And you start, all of a sudden now you're showing up in a lot more kill mails on Battle Clinic kill boards, and it's like, wait a minute, I don't want to be on the losing side of that. I want to be on the winning side. So what happens? You start to maybe raise your hand and you say, hey, this FC not making the best choices out there. Hey, this FC not doing the call. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Help, right? Help. Hey. Alliance leadership. Hey, corp leadership. This guy, maybe give me a shot. Because, I used to be in a Merc Corp, and I fly real well, and, hey, I could give it. And do you ever feel, have you ever had the experience where, like, nobody's listening to you? Right? And, all of a sudden you're like, it's just like you're just talking, and no one above in that alliance, and that big alliance leadership is listening. What? Yeah, it happens all the time, right? So what happens, and I see this a lot when I'm out there talking with players, is you go out and you eventually leave that alliance that worked so hard to recruit you into it, and you go back into your old way of playing with your old teammates, and you're back to doing whatever you do. Thing is that a lot of times what happens is that leaves a taste in your mouth, and pretty soon you get a little bit bored with EVE, and then things might start to spiral. I've seen this happen when I talk with players every day. And look, whether you are out to kill me when I'm out there flying around, or whether I'm shooting you in the face, more targets are better, yeah? Yeah. So I want more people playing the game. That's my goal, is to get as many people playing the game as I can possibly get to play. Because why? It's more fun that way. So here's another scenario. Does this sound familiar? That might be a little hard to see, but it's a wormhole. So you're out there flying around, and you're a PvPer, and a corp CEO contacts you and says, I'd like you guys, you PvPers, to come be part of our corporation as the combat wing, join some of our other combat guys, and we're going to go out and we're going to claim a wormhole and try to establish a section in there and really try to get a foothold so we can do some cool things and expand a little bit. And you say, hey, you know what? Sounds like fun. It's a low sec or a no sec wormhole. I'm all for it. Go out there and kick some sleeper AI, have a little bit of fun. And oh, by the way, there's going to be, you know, all those pesky people in there, Tengus that are running around exploring and trying to crack code and trying to, you know, horn in on your ratting while you're in that wormhole or whatever it is you're doing, gas mining. And so you're out there, you're doing that, you're having a lot of fun, and those PvPers they're having a few yucks, but all of a sudden, they don't feel like they're getting any traction in the corp because all they're supposed to do is guard miners. Ugh. And eventually they leave. Well, and then what happens? The corp now, it's down, it doesn't have as many defenses, it's got to pull back to Empire, pull back to low sec where it came from, and a lot of dreams got crushed. A lot of people tried to do stuff and it didn't happen. And that can create, again, kind of a bitter taste in people's mouths. So I guess my point is that scenarios like this play out every day in the huge sandbox that is EVE Online. And I hear that people say, well, okay, I tried that, and you know what? I tried this, I tried that, it's getting kind of old, I don't know what to do, it's so big, how do I start? Well, apparently the author of this graphic, right, heard the same thing because these guys created a whole chart on things you can do in EVE. All right? So anybody, and I see this all the time on other boards and other forums that are not EVE related, that are game related, I hear a criticism that, oh, EVE is, you know, EVE is all it is just an Excel spreadsheet in space. And, you know, and you're like, are you kidding? No, look at what you can do on EVE Online, right? There's so much stuff. And I want people to get in there. And so when I tell people that are coming online and they're posting online at Battle Clinic, when they say, hey, help me out, I'm kind of at a crossroads, I don't know what to do next, how do I go, what do I do? I say, what are you doing? And they say usually, oh, PvE. I'm now in my faction fit Navy Raven, and I'm kicking butt, and I'm spamming, you know, siege missiles at NPC, and I'm having fun. That's great, dude. Do you know how much more there is to EVE? And they're like, well, tell me, guide me. So I say, join a corp. Join a corp, make friends. You know what the problem with that advice is? Everybody takes it. No, just the opposite. They do. They follow my advice. They go and they join a corp. And what happens? Well, some good happens, right? So this is what happens when a lot of new players that have been around a while leave the PvE scene, or they're tired of mining, or they're tired of ratting, or whatever they're doing, and they decide they're going to take the leap and join a group of other players. They do die a lot. They do die a lot. What happens is, and I hear this over and over again, folks come back and they say, you know, Skindu, I took your advice, and I went out there. I got taught a lot, they say, but I didn't really feel part of the team. You know, I never really broke into the core of that corp. You know, those folks, they had some people that trained me. They kind of put me over here with some of their folks. I made a few friends. I didn't know where the corp was going. I didn't know what the vision was for the corporation or where we were headed. Does any of this ring true? Sounds like it all the time, right? And the discouraging thing that I hear people say all the time is, I didn't have a voice. I would say stuff and it would be like bouncing against the walls. Nobody was listening to me. And, you know, I thought I had a voice. I thought I was doing good work. I thought I had something to contribute. I thought I had some things I could add to my vision, and, you know, or add to the vision, but there was no communication. It was a closed-knit group, and I was the outsider. And what do you think happens when that happens? Yeah, bye. So building relationships with other players, tell me if I'm wrong here, can seriously up the fun quotient in EVE Online. I mean, just, you know, the more relationships you have, the better. I have flown now, we did some calculations. Mr. Q is here with me from Battle Clinic. He's the head of development. He'll be, he's running around another, I think he's over in the fan site section. Stop by and say hi if you want to. He and I have been gaming together since 2001, right? We have a core group of players that have been playing forever. Same? Do you guys have players that you've known and dealt with for a long time? Sure, everybody has. And isn't it more fun when you find another friend and you can bring that person in and it grows and it expands? It's just so much better. It's so much richer and more engaging. It doesn't matter if you're a noob, a veteran, if you want to you know, be the head of a 10-person alliance, a 10-corp alliance, whatever it is you want to do in life, influencing people to accomplish what you want is how you can bring more people in, how you can achieve those goals, how you can communicate those goals out to your corp, whether you are the CEO or not. In fact, that's the title of this presentation is Who Needs a CEO? No corp should need a CEO. You don't have to be communists, but, although it's okay if you are. But the bottom line on that is that you don't have to do that from a position of authority. Anybody in any corp can break that corp out of its mold, can get you guys out of your shell, can start influencing people, whether they're inside or outside your corp, inside or outside your alliance, in order to get what you want. Not what everybody else wants, what you want. That's the most important thing. So how does that sound? Well, I'll tell you how it sounds to me. If you have influencing skills, click, you'll get noticed more quickly inside even the largest alliance. You'll achieve strategic objectives. The example that I gave here is you might be someone that wants to rally your corp to gain sovereignty or hold sovereignty. Sovereignty. Can't say that word. Thank you. God, yeah, wow. Sobriety. So you can gain more flexibility in dealing with people. This is huge. I see this all the time. We'll talk more about this, but a lot of people, they have their mantra, they have their way of playing, they expect everybody else to play like that. They try to get other people in their corp to play the way they're going to play, and their corp sheds members. Because, you know, people just don't want to be in that type of environment. They want to add their voice to the mix. They want to help, you know, get their corp to do what they want to do, get their corp to do what it wants to do all together. You can use influencing skills to help you with that. Let's see. Is there conflict in corps? No, all right. Yeah, I have an ear blister from Vent and TeamSpeak from, you know, listening to guys just, Rrr! Oh, and e-voice. I'm sorry, CCB. You know, and finally, bottom line is, hey, get some more fun out of this, right? So, is there magic here? Is there magic if you have influencing skills? Am I going to sell influencing implants over at Deep Space Supply? No, I'm not. No, I don't. No, I don't. That'd be good, huh? I'm not. What it takes is, it's pretty straightforward. If you have a robust network, okay, of fellow players in EVE Online, if you understand how to recognize influencing opportunities, right, which are not going to telegraph themselves, you've got to find them, you've got to see them, you've got to recognize them. I'll show you how to do that today. And you use the right influencing tactics when those opportunities announce themselves, you're going to get more of what you want out of EVE, whatever it is you want. And here's what I mean by a robust network. Who's that guy? Anybody know? You Americans should know this right off. Who? Sam Adams. All right, someone's from Boston. Close, close. That is Paul Revere. What did Paul Revere do? He took a little horse ride, yeah. Paul Revere took a little midnight ride, and he warned American rebels in 1775 that the British had landed and were going to invade the arms stores at Lexington and Concord. So, okay, that's pretty cool. Why the heck? It's freaking Eve. Why are we talking about Eve? Why are we talking about Paul Revere? Well, who's that guy right there? Huh? Yeah, no. That guy's name is William Dawes. Why have we never heard of William Dawes? Did he lose? Well, guess what? William Dawes did the same thing. He did the same thing as Paul Revere. He did a midnight ride. But we didn't hear anything about it. We don't know anything about this guy. Well, check it out, right? So here's a map of the midnight ride. And as you can see, Paul Revere, he went this way, okay, up to Lexington. William Dawes went down this way. We hear all the time about Paul Revere. We hear nothing about William Dawes. Why not? You know, the bottom line was he wasn't as effective as Revere. It turns out, in fact, that one of the towns that William Dawes rode through was thought to be British sympathizers because they sent no troops to the battles of Lexington and Concord. And so they thought, oh, well, that town must be full of British sympathizers. In fact, what the problem was there were not enough people in that town that knew William Dawes, and thus they didn't spread the word thoroughly enough. They didn't get out of their houses and spread the word to people they didn't know. Yikes. Here's, it looks like PI, doesn't it? All right, this is not an extractor. Revere's ride had diverse contacts in different towns. When he would go to a town and he would stop and talk with people, they would spread the word out to other people that were not part of his contact network. So what that meant was the word got out faster and to more people. So he had diverse contacts in different towns. Dawes, on the other hand, Dawes had redundant contacts in different towns. So what happens is a redundant contact like this, he might tell this person, and instead of this person going out and telling unknown zillions, this person would tell someone else, oh, that also William Dawes had talked to. In fact, there were times, it was chronicled, when William Dawes would go up to a house and say, the British are coming, and that person would go over here, and they would open the door and say, hey, the British are coming. The person right here would say, oh yeah, Bill's been here. Well, okay, so what's going on here? Why is that not effective? What do you think's happening? We call those things echo chambers. If you have a closed group of people that don't talk to anybody else around them, what you're really formulating is an echo chamber. I see this in Eve all the time. I see echo chambers in Eve. Now, part of that is because you can't trust your spies that are out there, right? There's spies everywhere. Part of it is, you know, it takes a long time to get to know somebody. I understand that, I get that. At the same time, an echo chamber, and you can test this for yourself, ask yourself this question. How many of your contacts are contacts of each other? Because if you're talking to your contacts and they're talking back to each other, all that you're creating is a closed loop. Not so good for getting the word out, not so good for attracting new members, not so good for letting new members in. Because this tends to be self-perpetuating. Because, you know, I like flying with these guys. They're great. They share my, you know, they share my love for Eve. We do good things. I have a little story about that, which I'm going to tell you right now. Oh, let me show you Dawes. So there's an echo chamber for Dawes, right? So what happened is, this guy told this guy, Dawes told this guy, and he went over and said, hey! He goes, yeah, I've already heard. We tried to find a little proof about whether this was actually happening in EVE Online, besides me just flying around asking people, hey, out there in local, who are you? So we did some analysis. How many of you guys like statistics? Hey, all right. Yeah, well. So we took a look at the kill boards, and we pulled all the kills between December of 2010 and this month of a large, successful Southern Alliance. I will name no names. Pilots appearing in 60% of all the kills. So the pilots in that alliance that were in the majority of the kills was only 45% of that alliance's pilots. 55% of those pilots in that alliance only appeared in 5% of the kills or fewer, kill males or fewer. What does that tell you? Too many alts? Could be. What is it? A lot of inactive players. 5% of kills. Well, let's keep going here. So we broke that number down and we said, all right, of that 55%, 30% we found, 30% higher number of employment history entries. So the people that are on the fewest number of kill males also have higher number of jumps in their employment. They've jumped around a lot more in their corps, in different corps. So we extrapolated, unscientifically, but did the best we could, that these folks, this 55%, have a shorter time in the alliance and a shorter time in game, generally speaking. Now that sort of makes sense. You got younger players, you got players that are just maybe new to the alliance, and okay, they're not going to get as many kills. But I think that that should be higher than 5%. It should be a lot higher than 5%. So that kind of alarmed me a little bit. So excluding redundancies, we took another deeper dive into that 55%, and we found that, okay, are these guys PvPers? Well, it appears so. 61% of that group has as their favorite, according to the kill males, their favorite ship is a combat ship, not a mining ship. So these weren't extractors out there getting lucky or anything like that. Can you even fit a laser on an extractor? You can't. No. Right? Yeah. Drones, smart bomb. Right, okay. So it wasn't luck, right? I ruled that out. So then I said, okay, of that group, of that 55%, 35% of this group, they've shared a kill with other folks before joining that alliance. Fully a third shared a kill with other folks. That stands to reason. They probably came over as a small corp. They probably had some success. They maybe were a merc corp. They came into the alliance. They didn't get very many kills. That 45% I showed you earlier is doing all the heavy lifting, yeah? It's kind of what it looks like to me. Well, so extrapolating here, we got a core group of long-term members doing most of the fighting. It looks like, because of the employment history, that there's a lot of churn going on, or some churn going on in employment for the newbies. And unfortunately, it looks like there's evidence of echo chambers. That seems to me, ladies and gentlemen, like a lot of opportunity going to waste. Because if we accept the maxim that it's more fun to fly with friends, which I say over and over and over again in the 7 years that I've been playing EVE, if it's more fun to fly with friends, shouldn't Alliance leadership be actively looking to recruit more people in? Yes, I understand there's security concerns with that, but pulling more people in and sharing more of the vision. I would think so. I would think that would hook your people in longer and give you, I don't know, more loyal players, and give your alliance more power in the long term, or your corp, or your team, if you just not even have a corp. I had somebody come up to me at the booth and say, I don't believe in corps. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Just fly around with friends. It's great. Can't tax them. But, it's all right. So if you're aware of this dynamic, ladies and gentlemen, then the first thing to think about is, okay, how do I influence those people to stay? Or how do I influence people to do what I want them to do to improve my power and my influence inside EVE Online? Well, there's been no formal study that I know of in EVE, although I'd love to see the data. And any CCPers that want to partner with me after this and shoot me some Excel stuff, I would be happy to parse through and do some studies. But I'd like to see what the power of a robust network could do inside EVE Online. I think that one of the keys of effective influencing is to be a network broker. What do you think a network broker means? Let me show you. Here is a high school dating network. Pink is girls, blue is boys. You can't see it, but I'll have this on both CCP will have this, and also I've got all of my data attributed. So it'll be posted on Battle Clinic. You can pull this presentation down, check it out at any time. Here's the thing, and this is kind of freaks me out. See this guy right here? If I were a parent, I'd keep my daughter away from that dude. So the power of networks is being the broker. This guy has a huge network. He is one of the main people in the group. Here's a young lady who might have the same issue, right? She's got a large network. And there's a few other folks right here, right here. Those folks hold the power in that high school. They may or may not be the best looking. They may or may not be the ones on the drill team and football team and all that stuff. But whatever the case is, they're the ones who have the power because they know the most people, and the most people owe them something. They might be the ones that play EVE. So we have a question right over here. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. So I'm going to keep going, and when he gets to you, interrupt me. My question to you guys is, if you want to be that power broker in EVE, I'm happy with that fade right there. That's pretty good. Don't wait for your CEO, your wing leader, for anybody else to give you access or give you leave. Take it. Run with it. Influence. Start influencing people. Yes?
Isn't it sort of the opposite effect you'd want in the high school dating? Because you're not spreading information, you're just going to spread STDs if you've got too big a network. Surely if you have an echo chamber, then you're sort of minimizing it.
Should I give you my lecture on good protection? Can I do that now?
No.
To answer your question, though, in a fun and yet serious way, people that know other people, people that have trust in other people, and people who are known have more influence, not because they just magically have it, but because influence is something you can't have. Influence is something other people have to give you.
Sex is power.
Right? You can't just have influence. I can't just go down to the store and buy it. I have to be given influence by others. Others have to say, you know what? Go to Skindu, he knows what he's talking about. You know what? Go over here, they know what they're talking about. When you get that, I mean, that's the whole power of Facebook, right? So, you know, you get a thumbs up, your friends go, hey, I like that. And all of a sudden, now you're buying from wherever that is. So I take your point, and it's fun. At the same time, those people that have the influence are the people that are the network brokers. I mean, come on, look at that dude that mines Veldspar. You know the guy I'm talking about. He's got huge trust. He's got huge trust in EVE, doesn't he? Sure he does. He's a staple in the environment. And he's built that trust up over years. And he's done that by being out there, being visible, doing good things, and other people tell other people. It's the same way we work at Battle Clinic. We try to do good things, people tell other people. And if we do it wrong, we hear about it on the forums, and that's okay too. We want it. Bring it on. If you know how to be an influence broker, you're going to get what you guys want because, well, flying with friends is way more fun. All right, so how do you influence? Here's the meat of the presentation. How do you influence? You can influence two ways. You can influence through direct power, all right, and you can influence through indirect power. And direct power is like you're part of a gang. You're an FC of a gang. How many of you have operated inside of a very, very good fleet operation, and you've been listening on Vent, you've been listening on TeamSpeak, and it's almost like air traffic control, how precise and how clipped and how well orchestrated and well formed it is, yeah? Go out on YouTube if you haven't. Yeah, I see a lot of hands. If you have not and you want to experience this, go out on YouTube, and I hate to say this, and I only hate to say it because I don't want to put one alliance over another. or talk about defunct alliances. But Bob used to do this really well. And if you go on YouTube, there's some, I don't know if they've been leaked or what, but you can listen to some recordings of some FC operations, and it's military precision. And, you know, it's good stuff. That's direct power. Question there. That's direct power. There's a comment coming. Wait for the mic. And but that's what I mean by that. Indirect power, a little bit different. It's more around managing inside of a larger alliance. Your comment, please.
That information from Bob is not leaked. It's put there on
Good.
purpose.
Excellent. Now I have it from the source. So the people who use influencing skills are the people that are going to do a better job of recruiting overall, because more people feel if they have a voice, if they have a say in where the corp is going, and they feel like they're being listened to, they will contribute more. You'll have more democratic input potentially. But how many of you have ever been part of a corp where the person was an autocrat, where they were a dictator? And they told you what to do, and if you didn't do it, that was it. Forget about it. Get out. This is my way or the highway. And you're like, okay, dude, bye. Sure, right? People don't stick around when there's direct power being misapplied. So let's talk about, well, CCP. They like to talk about butterflies in Eve, the butterfly effect. Remember that video? Pretty cool video. You're out there in your wolf. You encounter a lone miner. You save the day, they invite you to the alliance, and pretty soon you're enjoying the wild fun in 0-0. That's cool. That's the butterfly effect. That's great. Emerging opportunities inside of any encounter you play, that's cool. Each of those opportunities are also potentially influencing opportunities. There are opportunities for you to influence others to try to get what you want. That's the definition of indirect power. You don't have the ability to just command people, so you have to suggest, you have to sell, you have to tell, you have to do some other things. What does that look like? Well, it looks like this. Oh, before I get there, a lot of people say, well, Skindu, I want to do this, but I'm kind of hesitant because I'm not sure if I should speak up. I'm not sure if the corp is going to like hearing this. Great, that's fine. I hear this all the time. People see influencing opportunities, but they settle for the status quo anyway. They keep expectations low, thinking it'll all just, you know, someone else will do it. They assume the good ideas sell themselves. I've seen this over and over again. People say, that was a great idea, the corp should have acted on that, but nobody championed it, so poof, now look where we are. Well, that was an influencing opportunity potentially for you. A lot of people, and you guys see this all the time with the people that rage quit, right? They blame others. Why can't you guys see? I'm out of here. And they're gone. And so the result, when you don't take advantage of those influencing opportunities, is you can get sabotaged by a trusted corp mate, Bob. Right? You can get killed. Somebody just turns around and go, I'm no longer part of the mix. My voice is no longer heard. Well, I'll show you. Hey, Goonies, here's the codes. Wow. I thought that would have gone over better over here. But must be a lot of IT alliance in the room. That's okay. There's little enthusiasm for pitching in. If you are a corp director or an alliance director and you're wondering why you hear the same 5 voices out of the 30 that are in your corp, well, it's probably because there's maybe too much command and control. When you hear silence, people don't feel like they're part of the mix. And, you know, you're going to get conflict and drama. So look, influencing is about getting what you want in EVE Online. I pass no judgments on this. Getting what you want can be anything from building the biggest alliance with you and your employer, all right, or taking it down. I don't care. Whatever you want to do. This is EVE Online. EVE Online. Use your skills for good or bad. I don't care. It's cool. You know, the tears and the flames are awesome. But it's going to come down to influencing. So how do you use indirect influencing? Well, you start with an idea of the result. I cannot stress this enough, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to make something of yourself in EVE Online, you got to start with a vision of where you want to go. Now, that vision's got to change. You got to be flexible because we are not robots. Humans will make different decisions. You're going to have a little of that butterfly effect. There's going to be variables that you'd never considered. But the bottom line here is that start with a vision of that result. Any leader who's been anything in history has been able to articulate what they see as an end game, end story. And when they can articulate that, followers emerge. Be willing to become a broker. Put yourself out there a little bit. Have a mutual stake in the income, of the outcome. In other words, getting what you want is not just about getting what you want. It's about finding people that you can partner with and broker with to also help them get what they want. That's the power of brokerage. And then use your expressive and receptive influencing skills. And let's talk about what that looks like. Expressive influence, here's the model for it. There's a couple different ways you can use expressive influence. One of my faction alts is an Amarian-based, it was part of an Amarian-based corp, and the CEO would do some favors for his corp mates. So I'm out there, I'm a nobody in this, faction warfare-based alliance. I'm just flying around having yucks. Nobody knows that I am who I am, which is usually good because if I fly by my screen name, Skindu, people just like to farm me for kill mails on my own boards. So I try to avoid that. And so this guy would always like do favors for everybody. The CEO, and he was always doing favors for everybody. And then he would like go into this huge rage when nobody would do favors for him. We're like, dude, you mad, bro? What's going on? What's up with that? Why are you raging so hard? Because, and he thought that by doing favors, he was earning favors back. But he didn't articulate it. He didn't express that. He didn't put that out there as something that he wanted. And consequently, this guy would just go on and rage, and there would be tears and drama, and then we would all go bye-bye. So influencing starts by clearly expressing yourself. And here's how you do it. This is what it sounds like. So if you're telling someone, that's pretty straightforward. The CEO is going to tell you, I need 3 guys to meet me on TeamSpeak at 1400 Eve time to plan our next op. That's influencing straightforward. It's a tell. A corp director might say, I'm spending the weekend training the noobs so that you guys can go plan the next op with the senior directors in the corp. That's selling. So I'm going to give you something. You guys, I'll go do this. You guys go handle that part of it. Enlisting sounds like this. If we can create an agreement with that mining corp, we'll have enough resources to Death Star our POS. Okay, so I'm envisioning by enlisting. I'm saying, look, here's the possibilities. Why don't we go for it? And a corp recruiter might say, if they're doing negotiation, corp recruiter might say, we need to recruit 15 or 20 man Merc Corp to help protect our Wormhole presence, or we won't be here much longer. So when you're negotiating, you might talk about consequences. Let's break that down a little bit. When you tell, one of the ways you can tell is you can suggest or you can express your needs. If you suggest, it might be, let's transfer 20 billion ISK away from our Titan build fund and hire the mercs in Cobalt Edge to put pressure on Legion of Death's soft underbelly. All right, so that might be a suggestion you make. Here's another way to tell. Just flat out express needs. We're going to need every ship we can muster to defend tribute. Bring everyone into your corps who can fight tomorrow for the op. Plain Jane, bring it or don't. When you sell, one of the ways that you could influence is offer reasons. So when you sell, it might sound like engaging the Goonies in Cloud Ring just enough to make them to commit defense forces means less that they can commit in Pure Blind, which is really where we want to go. So that's offering some good reasons, good rationale why you would want to take on Goonies in Cloud Ring. Another way to sell is to use shared values. Come on, it's always fun to shoot a Goonies. Especially when you're blue to them. Nice. If you want to try negotiation, right? You want to try negotiation, here's what that sounds like. You can describe consequences or offer incentives. So offering incentives sounds like, we'll transfer 30 billion ISK to you if you can infiltrate Razor's leadership ranks and find the location of each of their titans. All right? That's good old negotiation with plain old incentives. Another way to negotiate is to offer consequences. If we fail to rally and hold the IT alliance together, we risk being completely overrun by the Declan coalition. Oops, wait. It's kind of, it's not that bad. Run away. Here's another way to enlist. When you enlist, use envisioning. We see a battle unlike any New Eden has faced yet. This April, we have the opportunity to bring AAA's defenses to its knees. So that's envisioning, right? You put the power of the vision out there and see if you can attract followers that way. Another way to use enlisting indirect expressive influence is through encouragement. The loss of 6 Titans was painful, yes, but Catch has not fallen yet. By staying and fighting, you'll experience firsthand how much carnage revenge can fuel. I don't know, I'd be kind of cool if you heard that on TeamSpeak, huh? Be like, who replaced you with with a radio show? So it's simple. If you're looking for some strange and exotic way of influence, there isn't one. Use expressive influencing through these techniques to try and move the needle forward in your direction and move the folks that you're influencing toward what you want to do. I'll give you a quick little story about this. So one of my alts, yeah, it's a third one so far. One of my alts, yeah, I'm addicted, I'm sorry. One of my alts hangs out in Fountain. And I was back in Fountain in the days when Bob and Zealous were running the countryside out there in Fountain. And we were a little thorn in their side. We were holding the line down in Hopib and Karen, yeah, if I remember correctly. And so we were hanging out there and having fun. Well, my alliance, who I had flown with since like 2000 in a previous game to Eve, those guys decided they wanted to go to greener pastures up north, around about, what, Pureblind? No, up north, way up north, where Morses is. Yeah, okay, yeah, right. And so they went up there and I liked it in Fountain, so I stayed. And I was hanging around in there, and I was kind of I made that alt my ratting alt, so I'd go down there and shoot a few rats out there and have a little bit of fun. Well, as is the case when one large entity pulls out of an area, what happens? The vacuum is filled, right? So a new power block came in. This new power block came in, and, you know, they were cool. It was, you know, a couple of guys out there that had been playing around a while, and a couple folks that had just kind of joined in and were having a little bit of fun. And, of course, you know, Zealous and Bob had gone by the wayside. And, you know, I was having fun, just kind of watching the corpse cycle through. Well, guess what? It became clear to me that one power block was beginning to emerge in that neighborhood. And I figured to myself, well, if I want to stay in the neighborhood, I better make some friends. Otherwise, if I get to the point where I'm blinky red all the time, it's a little late to be influencing. More likely, I'm just ransoming. So I said, all right. And I reached out to the CEO and I said, I didn't say, hey, can I give you a bunch of ISK every month in exchange for me staying around ratting in D4KU? And they were like, you know, instead of going that route, which I didn't think was going to be very effective, I approached that CEO and I said, look, I'm a Pacific time zone player because I'm based in California. I rat at these times. I'm usually in these areas. This is my schedule. This is usually what I do. How could I possibly be of help to you? And the CEO thought about it and kind of thought a little bit more about it and said, well, you could probably be useful to me as kind of an early warning, intel gathering neutral, because, you know, the other teams that are flying by really don't know who you are either. It'd be really useful to me if you could do that. And I said, yep, okay, that sounds great. So that was my deal. And they didn't set me blue. They kept me neutral. But the word went out, don't shoot this guy. And I was cool because I was feeding him intel when people would run down the pipe. And that was a good arrangement for a while, and it was a way that it was a negotiation point that I used instead of just walking up and saying, hey, you know, can I stay here, or beating cheeks out. Well, that arrangement, that influencing arrangement, didn't lead to a friendship. You don't have to be friends with people you want to influence. But what it did lead to was a mutual understanding of some shared goals that we had in that environment. And so as I expanded what I wanted to do, I would help that CEO with that corp, and likewise. And it worked out just fine, even though I wasn't on their team speak all the time making buddies with them. So if you can influence, if you can expand your horizons that way, that's the way to do it. Now, that's expressive influencing. There's one other type of influencing model, another type of influencing model called receptive influencing. Because of time limitations, I'm not going to go through it, but here's the model, here's what it looks like. It's also kind of complicated, but this involves, when you want to use receptive influencing skills, so facilitation, inquiry, listening, and attuning, these are models, these are skills that are more used when you are trying maybe to appeal to an authority where you don't have a lot of influence and you want to gain good graces. I'll post a lot more about how the receptive influencing models work over on our site, and you can check that out later. I'll give you all the research for this presentation as well. Some quick risks. What do you risk? Anybody? If you put yourself out there to influencing. You say what? So you can get hurt emotionally. Yes. What else? So you can give away too much power thinking you're getting what you want. Yeah, that could be a case. You could open the kimono a little too wide, right? Okay. What else? What other risks could be out there? Too much responsibility, too much pressure. I agree. That's, pressure kills a lot of fun in Eve, because all of a sudden you suddenly feel like you're the person that's got to control everything, direct everything. Oh my gosh. Well, I get that. I understand. So, look, first thing, one risk, pick goals that are worth your effort. If you're going to try to influencing people, it's going to take time, it's going to take effort. You need to pick the stuff that's worth it to you, personally or professionally, inside Eve. Know that failure will occur. We are not robots. We will not always respond to the best of influencing skills. Sometimes you won't get what you want. And that's okay. Maybe you come to Fanfest and buy the guy a beer, and then you will. Or girl. Influential people are comfortable being visible. Ladies and gentlemen, I see this a lot. I see people come and they say to me, hey, I want to do more in Eve. And I say, okay, put yourself out there. And they say, no, I don't like the limelight. If you're not willing to put yourself out there and be visible, it's going to be harder to influence. So you need to do it. But the good thing is, if you're on Vent or TeamSpeak or local chat, whatever the case is, if you're out there doing that, you don't have to show your face all the time, and you can be influential. It's how it works. We play MMOs. That's what works. And finally, if you're not comfortable being fully committed, you're unlikely to succeed. So once you pick that goal, what do I really want in EVE Online? What do I want to get out of this game that's worth spending my time learning how to influence folks? Pick that goal wisely and pursue it with time and effort. And we all know, guys, we all know this. It's worth it in the long run because it's a great game. And it's fun to fly with others. And it's fantastic when you can influence those others to achieve a common goal and make something in this big, huge sandbox we call EVE Online. So finally, be a broker in your network. Don't create those echo chambers. Reach out, make connections with other folks, break through those echo chambers and use that expressive influencing, and you will succeed, my friends, in becoming influential in EVE Online. Questions? Comments, thoughts? Question here. Sorry. Thank you, sir.
How healthy is it for a corporation to have, or how many relation brokers should a corporation have to be healthy? Because I feel that having only one, or even not the CEO sort of being the relation broker, is risky because of lack of redundancy of information flow, for example.
Right. So, thank you. So, my advice when doing that is to delegate, if you're the CEO, delegate a portion of your players that you trust and know. And then if you can, devote a little bit of time right before an op just to get a download from them. Or if you have a forum or something where they can collaborate on that information together, put all of what they found together, visible in the light of day under one forum thread. Because if everybody has that shared information, you can talk through any potential conflicts or redundancies or issues that might arise. But I would say there's no limit. Sky's the limit. Make every single member of your corp able to reach out. They're going to do it anyway, even if it's to sabotage you. So, security earns you 1 ducat, trust will earn you 2.
But the problem really is that you can't have everyone being a relation broker. Yeah, I'm sorry. The problem is you can't have everyone being a relation broker because it's going to be an echo chamber by doing so, at least in your corporation, if you keep it in the realm of your corporation.
Right. So the definition of a broker is a connection between disparate groups. So yeah, you definitely want to have brokers that are reaching out to other non-corp types of folks out there. Yeah, by all means. So, if there's a mining corp that you want to bring in and become the industrial base for your corp, that's the perfect example of someone you'd want to reach out to. All right, guys, gotta go. Thank you very much. Enjoy FanFest. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, Mason.